Decision 2016 coverage continues now with some political perspective on the race for the White House. There's a lot of buzz today about House Speaker and Janesville Republican Paul Ryan not yet endorsing Donald Trump. Joining us live in the newsroom is Joe Sapecki, a Democratic political strategist and former state communications director for President Obama and Mary Burke. And we have GOP supporter, former TV reporter, and now with Edge Messaging, Lisa Manna. Let me talk to you about what's happening now with Paul Ryan. A few hours ago, here's what Ryan told reporters. I don't know where all of this is coming from. I haven't made a decision. I don't have a timeline in my mind, and I have not made a decision, and nothing's changed from that perspective. He's talking about this buzz that he is ready to endorse Donald Trump. Lisa, you are a Ted Cruz supporter. Would a Paul Ryan endorsement change your mind about Trump?
Well, first off, let's mention that this buzz comes from the Trump campaign, which is kind of interesting because it just follows the MO of Donald Trump, where if I say it enough, it makes it true. Paul Ryan is in a terrible position. If he endorses, then it goes against everything that he said the Republican Party is. If he doesn't endorse, he's the Speaker of the House, and he's not endorsing the Republican nominee. That's not a great position to be in. But for me personally, whichever way Paul Ryan ends up going, and I think eventually he probably will endorse, that's not going to sway me.
All right. Let's move on to Hillary Clinton, and the Hillary Clinton's email problem just got worse today. Let's talk about this. The State Department has issued a report, fairly scathing here, saying that her private email server broke federal rules. The audit says the State Department officials tried to offer different solutions to Clinton's email situation, but were rebuffed. The FBI is now investigating. Joe, Secretary Clinton has tried to downplay this story all year. Is she in trouble on this issue in the general election?
I don't think so. Let's not forget that that report also said that her practices were consistent with previous secretaries of state going back to Colin Powell. So the only people who want to talk about this are Republicans, and I think it's pretty easy to see why. They will leap to anything to justify their race to fall in line with Donald Trump. This is a guy who does not have the temperament to be president, whose policies would devastate the middle class, and you have a Republican Party that is trying to rationalize what they are now stuck with in terms of their nominee. So they can continue to talk about this, but I expect that Secretary Clinton will continue to talk about the actual challenges facing the country and her plans to strengthen the middle class.
I want you both to take a look at these numbers right now. This is from a new NBC poll, and it says the most important reason voters are supporting Donald Trump is their opposition to Hillary Clinton. I think the number there is around 36%. And the almost the same, ironically, Clinton supporters feel the same way about Donald Trump. 33% oppose him. Joe, you've been involved in a lot of campaigns. What do these poll numbers really mean?
Well, I think they reflect where we are in the calendar, right? This has been a contentious primary on both sides. I think if you look within those numbers, Secretary Clinton has more room to grow as Senator Sanders throws his support to Secretary Clinton when that happens. Ultimately, this is a moment of time. It's only registered voters as opposed to a likely voter screen. I still think the fundamentals of this race ultimately favor Secretary Clinton, and what I believe is that there's more room for her to grow because her unfavorables are lower than his, relatively speaking.
Lisa, a quick thought from you. Is that a motivator to get out there to oppose one candidate versus being in support of another?
Well, let's be honest, this is basically an unpopularity contest at this point, and I think, in my opinion, that that's the reason so many people on both sides of the aisle are hoping that there is a third-party candidate.
Yeah, I think one person said Mr. and Mrs. Unpopular. All right, Lisa.
Crowned, yay!
Lisa and Joe, thank you very much for joining us. You can get more political coverage of the presidential race on our website. Just log on to tmj4.com/decision2016.